for the fourth quarter of this NFC divisional playoff between the Redskins and the Bears. The Redskins have a 1st and 10 on the 18. They had the first and third quarters in their column, the Bears in the second quarter, and the Redskins held the ball for 10 minutes of that third quarter. Ball at the 18-yard line. Schroeder knocked away by Richardson, and Art Monk, the intended receiver, and a penalty marker is down. Question whether Richardson had a hand on Monk.
I think it's going to be interference against the Bears. And again, Washington burns a blitz.
Interference, 27 defense in the end zone. First down on the 1-yard line.
And again, they burn the Chicago blitz. Single coverage, Art Monk, Mike Richardson, because of the blitz. Monk with a stutter step, Richardson's with him, but contact before the football, but Richardson actually got his hand on the football. Boy, that's tight. That is tight.
But Danny might have had his right hand on the arm of Monk, knocked the ball away with his left. In any event, it's 1st and goal at the 1. Rogers and Warren in the backfield. It's Rogers close to the goal line. The Redskins are threatening because of the turnover. Walter Payton's fumble.
Let's take a look at this again. Mike Richardson, Art Monk. Now, did the contact already happen? You don't see the official reaching for his flag. Boy, that is, I don't know, from that angle.
Can't tell.
It'd have been tough for me to throw a flag from that angle, but then again, I can't see what happened with the right hand.
That's how tough the Bears have been against the rush when it's gotten down to the goal line. Rogers again, and he's in for the touchdown. Only the 5th touchdown allowed rushing by the Bears this year. And once again, the Redskins have capitalized on a Bear turnover to score.
Ground level on the goal line. Behind Don Warren is George Rogers. The Bears gambled, went to both sides of that gap, and it was an easy touchdown for George. But the big play, Mike Richardson being flagged in the end zone for interference.
It's 20-13, and what Mike Ditka must be thinking as Atkinson gets set to try the 21st point. Schroeder holding. Less than a minute into this fourth quarter. And the kick is good, and an important kick it was, because it gives the Redskins an 8-point lead at 21-13. And now the burden falls on the shoulders of Doug Flutie. How much magic does he have in him now?
Let's look at it from our reverse angle. This was the big play, the interference call on Mike Richardson. They'll be to the lower right of our screen. The throw by Schroeder. Is there contact? Boy, Mike Richardson got his left hand on the football. The flag comes in. I couldn't have called it, but the official was right there.
Dennis Gentry, who has returned 2 kickoffs for an average of 54, gets a rude awakening at the 23-yard line by Dean Hamill.
And for those of you wondering, where's the instant replay on that? There is no instant replay on interference calls. Only changes of possession and boundaries and things like that. So if you're wondering why we didn't go to the replay booth, that's why. It's not in their jurisdiction.
Scoring drive. Key play, Payton fumble, and the Redskins in 2 playoff games have forced 9 turnovers while giving up only 1 themselves. Bears 1st and 10 on the 25. Triple pumps, and it touched 4 or 5 hands before it went incomplete. Neil Olkowitz got a piece of it.
That's Neil Anderson running a crossing pattern. Alvin Walton the first one, Olkowitz the second one. 2 Redskins touched the football, a couple more had shots. And looking at it, Dick, sometimes I wonder, in a situation like that, rather than throw the ball, if there isn't an alley for Doug Flutie to take off and run the ball. You know, he's not being very effective running the ball. I think maybe he could do more.
We saw the Bear turnovers and what it's meant to them and what it's meant to the Redskins. 2nd and 10. Peyton giving ground and losing ground, and it was Alvin Walton who made the big play. Monty Coleman who followed suit, and right now looking at special teams and the defensive play of the Redskins. This is an aroused group of wild card winners out here.
On 6 days rest. Again, I go back to what Dave Butt said. Rather than use the 6 days rest as some sort of an excuse, they go all the way back to winning the Super Bowl with only a week's rest. And they say, hey, we're a team that doesn't like to have a couple of weeks off. We lose our momentum. You know, if you could use something like that to an advantage, I don't know, the Redskins might be using it right now.
3rd down and 13. At the 22. 5 defensive linemen up front for Washington. Flutie. And it's nearly intercepted as the pass went behind Lou Barnes. And the Redskins were all around the ball, mostly Curtis Jordan. And on 4th down, Buford will come in and kick the ball for the Bears. Eric Yarber goes back, and Buford will kick from inside his 10.
Watch this, trying to confuse Doug Flutie. This is Marcus Cook, the nose guard. He's going to drop all the way back into pass coverage at the snap of the football. They show you 5 defensive linemen. One of them bails out, and he's one of the guys that forced Doug Flutie to throw offline because he was 20 yards downfield.
Buford on the kick, and that had to be one of those wrinkles that Richie Pettibone told us about. Yarber. And Yarber is tackled at the 37 and will return to Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois, after this word from your local station. Dick Stockton and Dan Deerdorf here in Chicago, and Richie Pettibone, the defensive coordinator of the Redskins, used to make his living playing for the Bears and had the interception record of the Bears before Gary Fensick broke it this year. 1st and 10, Redskins on their own 37. George Rogers is brought down by the refrigerator. And no gain on the play. We talked about the Bears' schedule. We've harped on it.
Yeah, we talked how their opponents only had a 39% winning percentage. Look how long it has been since they played a good football team. Has it had a bearing on this game? Hard to tell. But they haven't faced stiff competition week in and week out.
2nd and 10 at the 37. Bryan is in there now. Schroeder flushed out by Perry. And Schroeder will be able to run for the 1st down before going out of bounds at the 48-yard line. A gain of 11 for Jay Schroeder.
Now it's interesting to see the way the Bears are playing. Watch, they're only going to bring the 4 guys. Wilbur Marshall fakes the blitz and goes out. What happens, though, is that because they've been burned on the blitz, their linebackers are so far back in the zone, they're in no position to come up with a quick support on Schroeder. And even then, the first guy that can get there is Mike Richardson, the cornerback. Get burned on the blitz, you've changed your thinking defensively, and it seems that's what the Bears have done now.
1st and 10 on the Redskins 48. 12:41 remaining in the 4th quarter. George Rogers cuts his way into Chicago territory to the 47-yard line, where Steve McMichael and then Gary Fensick made the play. And I have to go back to the 1st quarter and early in the game when the Redskin defense, Dan, kept the score from being a lot more than that halftime 13-7 Chicago lead.
The Bears had 1st and goal on the 4-yard line. They had to kick a field goal from the 5. They had it deep in Redskin territory again. Couldn't get it in. Another Butler field goal. We talked about it then. Would it have a bearing on the game? It seems to have.
2nd and 5 at the 47. George Rogers. And Perry made a tremendous tackle. Singletary as well there. And talk about a huge gentleman. And of course there was a little flack this week, wasn't there, with the coach?
Yeah, there really was, because Mike Ditka said that if William Perry doesn't lose some weight, he may not be back here next year. That was a line stunt where Dent went to the inside. Perry moves to the outside, and he was in the right place to make the tackle. Nobody ever said the guy can't play the run. You know, if you're coming within a couple of yards of him either way, he's going to be there. It's his pass rushing that has been hurt by the fact he's too heavy.
3rd and 4 now. Schroeder to wide open Kelvin Bryant, and a foot race. First down, Redskins, and Bryant goes down at the 27-yard line, and another first down. Richardson and Dent made the tackle, and a 19-yard gain by the Redskins. Dan, they're gaining so much confidence almost on every play.
And the Bears are confused defensively. Look at Mike Singletary in the middle. He's going to call for a timeout. He knows he's got a problem. The motion is causing, he wants a timeout. He's not going to get it. The blitz coming from the outside. Kelvin Bryant wide open. Mike Richardson there too late. Again, the Redskins burn the Bears on a blitz.
1st and 10 at the 27 of Chicago. Rogers gets almost 5 yards on the play. And keep in mind that the Bears, as it is, need at least a touchdown and a field goal to win this game. And the Redskins controlling the ball. That time it was Richardson and Singletary on the stop.
The Bears and their blitz, they're getting burned. You know, when I looked at that last replay from up here, it looked to me like Mike Singletary was calling for a timeout. That well could have been one of their defensive signals. If I had to take a guess, I'm going to reverse and say I bet it was a defensive signal instead of a timeout. The fact remains they've been getting hurt on the blitz.
2nd and 6, and Bryant. Stutter steps his way to the 18-yard line, short of a first down by about 1.5 yards. It was Singletary and Fensick that time, and clock continues to run. Plenty of it left. 9.5 to go in the 4th quarter, but the Redskins lead the Bears in what would be a shocking surprise if Washington holds on, 21-13.
And the Bears defensively now are in a situation they have got to force a field goal attempt by the Redskins. They're already 2 scores behind. They need a touchdown and a field goal to take the lead. A touchdown here would seriously hurt the Bears. Seriously.
3rd and 1. Jumbo formation, and it's Rogers. We'll see where they spot the ball. It was Steve McMichael, Mike Singletary, and Gary Fensick all around the ball carrier George Rogers.
I don't think he's even going to be close to the first down.
And they're going to bring on Atkinson and Mike Ditka, who would like to join Don Shula and Chuck Noll, who did it twice, as coaches who have won back-to-back Super Bowls. But it'll mean nothing for Ditka to achieve that unless the Bears can survive here. It'll be a 35-yard attempt. Atkinson kicked 4 field goals to tie the record last week.
His only 4 for the Redskins.
That's right. And Jess Atkinson's kick is good, and with 8:06 on the clock, the Bears now need 2 touchdowns to pull this one out. It's 24-13 in favor of the Redskins. This is a stunner. The Redskins lead the Bears, and Russ Grimm, who's wearing a flak jacket to protect severely bruised ribs, has been hurting over on the sideline. But just part of the gritty story of a short week and a lot of injuries, and the Redskins have fought gamely today.
And they're trying to get Grimm out of the ballgame. Whether they can keep him out, I'm not sure. If the Redskins win, Russ Grimm will be one of the heroes.
Atkinson on the kickoff on a low line drive kick, and Hamill stops Calvin Thomas at the 35-yard line. Steve Cox did not kick that time. But right now, let's tell you about another duel tomorrow. The 49ers and the Giants. First time they met, great comeback by the Giants.
It was 17-0. The 49ers out front. Giants came back to make it a 21-17 ball game. And this one has the trappings of an excellent football game. It'll be at the Meadowlands. The Giants have the home field advantage if they can keep winning.
And the Giants have beaten the 49ers the last 2 times they've played them. 1st and 10 Bears on their 35 with 7:58 to go. Flutie being rushed by Charles Mann. And it's caught by Payton. And he goes out of bounds, and if anything, a loss on the play of a couple. Okowitz and Butts on the stop, and there is Jim McMahon, and what he must be thinking, because he was never in favor of Doug Flutie being there. Not that Flutie is the reason why the Bears are trailing.
No, Jim McMahon went public and made some comments about he just didn't feel that Doug Flutie had been a member of the Bears long enough or had enough experience to be taking this team into the playoffs. And there was a comment that was not received very well by Mike Ditka.
And a lot of people might speculate that jealousy could be behind it all. 2nd and 12 at the 33. Flutie unlimbers and overthrows Gault. It'll be 3rd down.
How fickle are the winds of football. Pre-game introductions, Doug Flutie next to Walter Payton. The loudest ovation of the crowd here at Soldier Field, and now every time a pass takes off on him, he's being booed rather lustily, wouldn't you say?
I would, and you know, Flutie is going to have his down moments as a pro quarterback. This is only his 2nd start, no excuses, but this is the playoffs, and the Bears are the defending champion.
And he's playing a team in the Redskins that are playing very, very good football.
Anderson and Payton are the backs, 3rd and 12. The Bears are only 1 for 9. 5-man line for Washington. Flutie loops it up. And it was intended for Emery Moorhead, the tight end, and a host of Redskins around the ball, including Curtis Jordan and Todd Bowles. It'll be 4th down, and Buford will come in and kick. And time beginning to run out on the Bears with 7:03 to go.
4th and 12 from the 33.
Otis Wilson on the sideline knows he's got to go back in, and we're all well aware of how tough it is to repeat. But this game, 7:03 left in it. The thing about the Chicago Bears is they can score points defensively. They have all year long. One Redskin mistake, and they'll make points out of it.
Buford will kick to Yarber. Fair catch by Yarber. And the key thing for the Redskins is to avoid the turnovers you're talking about. The Bears, they want to cause them. You can be sure the city of Chicago and the capacity crowd at Soldier Field is in shock. Just look at the scoreboard. That much time remaining in the 4th quarter, and the defending Super Bowl champions trail 24-13.
Walter Payton only 38 yards on the day. That's exactly what the Redskins wanted to do. Take him out of the offense.
George Rogers on 1st down. Gets to the 30-yard line, and this has been a near-perfect 2nd half for the Redskins, and it plays into what Richie Bettebone told us.
He said, we will not allow Walter Payton to beat us. We will flood the line of scrimmage. We won't allow the Bears to run the football. Okay, what's the other side of that? We're going to force Doug Flutie to win the football game. And if he does, we'll say congratulations.
Flutie is 8 of 24 for 98 yards, 2 big interceptions. The Redskins, 2nd and 5 on the 31. And they go to Rogers again, and he's down at the 30. It'll be 3rd down. And the 24 points scored so far by the Redskins is the 2nd highest total amassed against the Bears this year. The Browns scored 31 in the season opener a long time ago.
35, the Redskins, 31.
3rd down and 5. Gary Fensick shaken up now. And Raleigh McKenzie replaced Russ Grimm when Grimm went out. Sean Gale is in for Gary Fensick. Kelvin Bryant can't get outside, and the Bears hold with Durson and Wilbur Marshall showing their team speed on defense, and a penalty marker down, and Kelvin Bryant is incensed.
And I think Wilbur Marshall's going to get a personal foul for slapping Kelvin Bryant in the face. Oh, what a penalty if this one goes through.
Personal foul, 58 defense, 15 yards, automatic 1st down.
And if that turns out to be the one that breaks the back, it's amazing that the defensive unit committed it.
Dave Dewerson, Wilbur Marshall right on Kelvin Bryant. Marshall keeps dragging Bryant. Okay, enough is enough. Now Kelvin says something to him. Oh, but that's wide open. Remember, in the first half, Richard Dent got a 15-yarder for grabbing onto a face mask. Certainly, Wilbur Marshall didn't hurt Kelvin Bryant, but boy, that's a big risk to take. Wide open like that, and you get caught. They'd have had to punt the football. Now they got a first down.
A sign of frustration by the Bears, who have not dominated this game. 1st and 10 on the 45-yard line. Winding down to 5 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter. Rogers brings it out to the 46 and a gain of 2, but the clock working in the Redskins' favor now.
And now Dan Hampton comes out of the pile livid. He's right in the face of one of the officials, screaming about something, probably that he was being held.
It'll be 2nd and 8.
2 penalties come to mind that Mike Ditka has to be thinking about right now. The interference on Richardson and that personal foul on Wilbur Marshall that kept the drive alive.
But the Redskins have capitalized on turnovers. Darrell Green's interception resulted in a touchdown to Art Monk. Walter Payton's fumble, eventually a score by George Rogers. And Rogers carries again, and this is Redskin football, as you talked about at the top. And now we're winding down to 4 minutes remaining. Only one NFC wild card winner has ever advanced to the conference championship game. The Dallas Cowboys of 1980. They beat the Rams in the wild card, then Atlanta in the divisional playoff before losing to the Eagles in the NFC title game. The AFC has had many wild card winners advance, but not in the NFC. And of course, one team was the New England Patriots. 3rd and 7 with Kelvin Bryant installed again. And it's Bryant with May blocking. He's short of a first down by about 4 yards. It's 4th down, but the clock continues to run and less than 3.5 remain.
And that's a good call by the Redskins.
Chicago calls a timeout because they don't want any more time ticking off. They have 2 left, and they know they're going to get the ball with 3:18 remaining. And they need 2 touchdowns to the Bears to pull this one out. Left 3:18 to go, but I have to go back to what you talked about at halftime, and that is something the Redskins have done all year. That has come from behind.
And when Joe Gibbs talked to us about it, I mean, he was even surprised because he said none of my prior teams have ever been able to come from behind. They panicked whenever they were down, and this team repeatedly has come back. And Dick, who do we give the credit to? You know, there's one new face, and his name is Jay Schroeder. You've got to say that confidence that you sense in talking to him transmits to the whole team.
And the defense. Let's not forget about the defense with 2 big interceptions, a fumble recovery. And earlier in the game, 1st and goal for the Bears after Mike Richardson returned an interception 42 yards to the 4. They had to settle for a field goal, and then with good field position again in the 2nd quarter, Chicago had to settle again for a Butler field goal. Gave them a 13-7 advantage. Could have been more, and the Redskins have come back. Lou Barnes is back, and Steve Cox will punt. Low snap. Kick takes a bounce into the hands of Barnes. It fumbles. Monty Coleman picks it up and goes in for the touchdown for the Redskins. And that'll do it. Four turnovers. 3 of them in the 2nd half, and the Redskins have scored each time and have taken a 30-13 lead.
A muffed ball can't be advanced. They're going to rule that a muff because he never had possession. They're going to call that a muff, and he can't advance it. He'll get it at the 4.
Monty Coleman picked it up. So let's go back to 24-13.
They're saying from this angle, from the reverse angle, you can see that he never had possession of the football. That's why it's a muff. A muff cannot be advanced. From our side of the field, it looked like he had possession, and that was the initial indication by the officials. But it's a muff, and you can't run with a muff.
You know, it's a bittersweet thing for the Bears here, Dan, because with 3:06 to go, it's 1st and goal at the 4, and now the Redskins can use up even more time before they possibly score another touchdown. But it's 24-13, not 30. Rogers gets down to the 2-yard line, but the Redskins know what it all means as the clock moves under 3 minutes, and so do the Bears as well.
And Lou Barnes had a tough time handling the football one time in the first half. As he kicked the ball on the far side of the field, and luckily it went out of bounds. The Bears have had to take a timeout to stop the clock at 2:51. And a lot of proud men standing in that Bear defensive huddle. Dan Hampton, just one of them.
Bears have 1 timeout left. Tonight on CBS, the premiere of a new CBS series, Outlaws, starring Rod Taylor, followed by the Saturday CBS movie Kiss Me Goodbye, starring Sally Field, Jeff Bridges, and James Caan. What an improbable series of events today. Doug Flutie making only his 2nd NFL start. But it was the Redskins trailing at halftime, coming back. You know, yesterday when we talked to Joe Gibbs, he acted as if the Redskins wanted to get in and out of town in a hurry, didn't he?
Well, Joe Gibbs effectively, I think, transmitted the illusion that this was a football team too beat up to even compete with the Bears. I think that was an illusion.
Bears couldn't throw the ball. They got 1 yard passing in the second half. 2nd and goal on the 2. And Rogers is tripped up again, and it's 3rd down, and Ditka is signaling for his team to use its last timeout, I believe, and that's the story. So the Bears are out of timeouts.
Timeout, Chicago. That's their last timeout.
How about time of possession in this game, where the Redskins have had the ball in the second half for 20.5 minutes, the Bears for only 6. Now you wonder how the 49ers and Giants feel about the result of this game as those two teams battle at Giant Stadium tomorrow.
Well, the only thing we know for sure is that if Washington holds on and wins this game, they won't play at RFK. They're the wild card team, and they'll have to play either at San Francisco or at New York, depending on who wins tomorrow's game. So they'll know who they have to play. The one good thing for the Redskins, they'll have a long week this time, having played on Saturday, and then they won't play until Sunday.
You surprised that a wild card team has only 6 days to get ready to play their next playoff game?
Well, both wild card teams had to do it today. The New York Jets in their game with Cleveland had to play in a short week. I asked Joe Gibbs yesterday about that, and he said that he called the commissioner, and he said, I talked to him for about 5 minutes, and when I hung up, I still wasn't sure why we had to play on Saturday. It's, you know, it's really an unfair advantage. They're having to play a team that had 2 weeks, and they only got 6 days.
And it's possible that we could have 2 NFC Eastern Division teams playing for the conference championship next week. And Bill Parcells said a long time ago, I wouldn't be surprised if I see the Redskins a 3rd time this year.
Well, remember, until the Bears and the 49ers developed into fine teams, that was almost a yearly occurrence between either the Cardinals, the Redskins, or the Cowboys.
3rd and goal on the 3. 2:38 on the clock. Schroeder rolling out. Throws it away. Incomplete. And it's 4th down. He used up a lot of time now, and Atkinson will come on in.
I really think I should correct myself when talking about the conference championship game. The Cardinals never played in one of those. Let's substitute the Eagles for the Cardinals, talking about the All-East Conference Championship game.
You know, with the career you had and how close you came, I'll give you that.
All of a sudden I got thinking to myself, I don't remember having played in a conference championship game.
Atkinson has kicked a 35-yard field goal. Maybe you dreamt of it once.
I dreamt of it a lot.
Atkinson 5 for 5 in 2 games. This will be a 20-yard attempt with Schroeder holding. And 2:31 to go, and the fans, many of them, have filed out of Soldier Field. Didn't expect this tonight. Penalty marker down. The kick is good, but there's a flag.
Illegal substitution, offense.
And
That's someone who comes in to line up at either the tight end or the wingback position and who has an ineligible number and who didn't report on his way in.
so Atkinson will try it again from
Illegal
farther back.
substitution, number 63, offense.
Raleigh McKenzie did not report. And they'll kick it again. Field goal here would give the Redskins a 27-13 lead. The Bears needing 2 touchdowns.
63 returned to an ineligible position. He must leave the game for 1 down.
2 touchdowns in 2:28 to tie. Somewhere along the line, Jacoby and Grimm deserve a kudo or 2.
Now they stop it again on the field.
This will be a 24-yard attempt for Atkinson. Art Monk caught 2 touchdown passes today from Jay Schroeder. George Rogers with a score. A 25-yard attempt now will be spotted. And Atkinson's kick is good. He's now 6 for 6 in the 2 playoff games, and it's now 27-13 with 2:25 remaining. Well, Dan, let's look ahead again to tomorrow's game. I'm sure that Bill Parcells would have preferred to play a club other than the 49ers, and we saw them against New England toward the end of the year, and the one thing that impressed me was the fact that they have 2 healthy running backs now in Craig and Cribbs, who can both run and catch.
I think the one thing you can say about the 49ers, and I'm sure I'll get arguments in other places, but if you take the Redskins, if you took the Bears, the Giants, and the 49ers, I think the 49ers have the best offensive football team. They're the most explosive offense in the playoffs. And I think that is going to be used by the 49ers as an advantage. They've got great wide receivers in Clark and Rice. As you say, the 2 healthy running backs, a big guy like Francis at tight end, and of course, Joe Montana. What has he meant to that team?
Except that Montana's going to have to face the toughest defense he's had to play. It'll be the 2nd time of the year, and a lot of people disparage Phil Simms a little bit, but all Phil Simms has done is get the W's in the column for the Giants this year.
And he's done it without a lot of what you would call star-studded wide receivers, and you got to love that guy right there, Joe Jacoby. Playing with the big club. Atkinson. Be a fun trip home for the Redskins, and I think old Joe may get a lot of pats on the back. I hope he and Russ Grimm sit side by side, so save his teammates some trouble.
Atkinson kicking off on a line drive. Touched by Gentry, picked up by Sanders. Thomas Sanders still on his feet and brought down at the 27-yard line by Dean Hamill. You have as a former offensive lineman, a special kind of feeling for the kind of game that Grimm and Jacoby play today.
Well, it doesn't have to be just an offensive lineman, as I think we've got a flag down on the field, but it's like Joe Montana coming back sooner than anyone expected.
Offside, number 78 on a kicking team, 5-yard penalty, re-kick.
Yeah, they're going to ask for the re-kick because they want the big play, get the kickoff return. But you admire a teammate who's willing to play hurt, a teammate who's willing in a big game, even though he knows maybe he's not 100%, he knows he's still the best you have. And I guess that's what we saw today in Jacoby and Grimm.
Big story of this game. The Bears who had a penchant for turning the ball over this year, did it again and were burned 3 out of 4 times.
The other thing, with 2 minutes and 12 seconds, this guy might have something to say. I mean, even though the Bears don't have any timeouts, they still have a guy by the name of Willie Gault. They're only one big play away from being right back in this game. An onside kick. Stranger things, as we all know, have happened before. And Willie Gault, you'd have to think that somehow they want to get the ball in his hands.
Atkinson on the kick. Todd Bell bobbles it at the 25 and laterals the ball to Neil Anderson and Alvin Walton. And the kicker Atkinson were both there, knocking him out of bounds. 2 minutes remain, and we'll have our 2-minute warning. To put it simply, the Bears need 2 touchdowns to send the game into overtime if they want to keep their hopes alive. If you've joined us late, this is the shocking story. 2 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, and the Washington Redskins with a 2-touchdown lead over the defending world champion Chicago Bears. Bears out of timeouts. Doug Flutie will operate out of the shotgun. He has Ortego and Gault. He's got to try to go deep or get something deep in a hurry. He completes that to Willie Gault at midfield, and a gain of 7 on the play. Bowles and Coffey on the stop, and with no timeouts left, there's nothing the Bears can do. And they know it. Flutie stepping up, fires for Ortego, and Ortego completes it, has it inside the 25, where Tim Morrison makes the catch. A gain of 26. 1:25 on the clock and running.
And those that stayed start to get a little excited.
First and 10 at the 24. Flutie finds Reitman, and now they rule it incomplete. It was Morrison and Dean who defended against Tim Reitman, and that would have been a big one for the Bears.
And that was a fine play by Doug Flutie. A bad snap. Look at that one-handed grab. Buys himself a little time, as we talked about all game long, by movement. But he puts that one right in there to Tim Reitman. Ruled that he'd never had possession of the football, but boy, did Morrison and Dean put a couple of hats on the ball.
2nd and 10, and of course, anytime you're talking about Doug Flutie, nothing is impossible. As Brent remembers, he called that miracle touchdown pass in Boston College's win over Miami a few years ago, which set up the Heisman Trophy win for Flutie. 2nd and 10 with that much time remaining at the 23. Flutie looking to pitch out, does so, and Matsui is knocked out of bounds to stop the clock at the 7 with 59 seconds to go. The Bears, after that 16-yard gain, will want to score as quickly as possible and go for the onside kick. And you know that the Redskins sideline is contemplating that right now.
I'm sure that Wayne Sevier, the Redskins special teams coach, has already talked to all the receivers, running backs, the guys with good hands that they put up front in that onside receiving situation. It's something that all NFL teams practice at least once a week during the regular season. But first, the Bears have to score a touchdown.
1st and goal at the 7, 59 seconds to go. Flutie fires, and it's caught for a loss on the play to Matsui, and it was Monty Coleman who put the hit on. And the clock continues to run, and Bears need pay dirt if they're going to have any last-ditch chance. Down doesn't really matter that much right now. It's 2nd down, though. On the 5. Flutie drills it incomplete, and he threw it hard to Willie Gault on a slant-in pattern.
Todd Bowles, one of the Redskin defensive backs, Looked like he might have even gotten a hand on the football. It was tough to tell. Nonetheless, this is going to bring up a 3rd down, and I guess Flutie's making it interesting. And
he always does.
He's done a couple things here, Dick, that we talked about earlier. I think there were a couple times that maybe he could have come out of the pocket and taken off and run with the football, as we talked, rather than try to force it downfield.
3rd and goal at the 5. Flutie fires. And it is knocked away by Monty Coleman, intended for Emery Moorhead. And now it's 4th down. And now the Bears are slim chances, even slimmer. Joe Gibbs, first time the Redskins have played a road playoff game under Gibbs.
If it was so easy to repeat, everybody would be doing it.
4th and goal at the 5. Flutie will try to run it, flips it, and it's knocked away by Fernandine on the pass intended for Keith Ortego, and that will do it, as the Redskins will take over on downs with 15 seconds to go. And you saw Joe Gibbs point, just kneel down and let the clock tick off, and Bobby Beathard and Joe Gibbs.
And Walter Payton, a good look at his eyes. And what do you say about the year of the Chicago Bears?
They had distractions. They had all kinds of problems. They had some big injuries to people like McKinnon and Frazier and McMahon. Let's not forget McMahon.
And now what's been a tumultuous season for Chicago switches over to what will probably be as tumultuous an off season, because somehow you get the impression that Mike Ditka is not just going to sit back and say, well, fellas, we're going to do next year what we did this year. I don't think that is any longer acceptable.
This will be the 2nd home playoff loss in history by the Bears. Their only other one was against the Redskins 49 years ago. And the big shocking upset has occurred here at Soldier Field, and the defending champions have been upset by Joe Gibbs and the Redskins, who had to put it together in a hurry and have shocked the Bears 27-13.
And a good shot there of Joe Gibbs telling Mike Ditka, oh, don't bother, you don't have to come over and shake my hand. And yet Mike Ditka all the way across the field congratulated Joe Gibbs. And there you have to say Jay Schroeder. He dared them to blitz. Come at me, I'll hurt you, and he did.
It was the defense early.